Hello, friends. Welcome to Ancient Wisdom Healing. And we have a special guest today, Heather Bell. And I hope you will join us as we explore who Heather is, what she does to help heal those on this planet, and how we can help her in her mission. So let's just kind of get going here. So how are you doing today, Heather?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you. Hope you're doing well.
I am. Yeah. So let's discover your story and, kind of how you contribute to the healing of this planet and, how do you, what you feel is the purpose of your gifts and abilities. So,
Well, okay.
yeah. So what do you think about that?
Well, I didn't start out into this field. What I do is quantum healing hypnosis,
Mm-hmm.
and I use a variety of modalities to actually get to the root of dis-ease and problems that people have, as well as healing a lot of childhood trauma.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about, what the pain is, the emotional or physical that you kind of help people alleviate. And tell me about your training and a little bit more specific things about the modalities that you use.
Oh,
Did
the
it,
internet's messing up. I'm sorry. So what I do is I use hypnosis, and what that allows is the body to completely relax. And whenever we do, that allows us to identify some aches and pains that they're having. And what I'm finding is the body keeps the score. There's so many books out there about the body keeps the score, metaphysical anatomy, soul speak. The body it holds on to emotions. And what I'm finding is when the body holds onto those emotions, it becomes trapped energy.
mm-hmm.
So we can clear or block energy centers with the chakras. I'm finding a lot of attachments, and that gets into the spirit release that I also do. And whenever we remove that blocked energy, then the healing process can begin.
Okay. So it can be trapped in the chakra area where the chakra is the energy center that holds things in specific parts of your body, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you use this to help others? I mean, what kind of issues do they come with you with? And then you kind of take us through a little mini session here if you can.
So a lot of people reach out to me because I'm getting a lot of clients who are very curious about Dolores Cannon. So I trained under Dolores Cannon's method, QHHT, back in 2021 and did level 1, level 2. And then I realized that you can't do it online. So then I took Beyond Quantum Healing to offer a different type of modality. And then I found out through that not every client can go under. And so I was having some issues where whenever they would go under, they would see weird things. They would have problems concentrating or visualizing, or couldn't even relax. And that led me down the path of spirit release. So what I'm able to do is when they're coming to me, they're usually having aches or pains or want to get to the root of the problem. They watch a lot of Dolores Cannon videos and like, I want to be healed. So I've had cancer patients come to me. I've had lots of sexual trauma. I've had lots of people are curious about generational trauma, a lot of addictions, just aches and pains that medication is not healing. And so they're just wanting to know, like, how do I fix this? How do I understand what my body's trying to tell me? So that's kind of what I do.
Okay. So you said this is a hypnosis type meditation, we'll say. So if somebody comes to you, how does this work for them? Do they, you said you can do it online, but you can also do this in person, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
So
if
yes.
they came to you, what would they need to do?
Well, what I do is I have some paperwork for them to fill out, and the paperwork is energy itself. So I can read through a lot of what they put on the paper. It asks questions like, do you have anxiety? Do you have depression? Can you visualize? Are you having aches and pains? Do you have addiction? Is there any issues around food, around your job? So we start out with that, and then I'll ask if there's any trauma that you've experienced, if you've been in the hospital, things that will help me, one, allow you to open up before we ever talk. And then it also guides me on where I need to look at as far as what's going on with the body. So once I have that information, we will then have a chat. So we'll talk for about anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on the amount of trauma that a patient has had. So we'll talk through anything that we can talk through to begin with, and that will then allow any healing to start there. So sometimes just talking about it and opening up about whether it's trauma, most of it is trapped in the body, these emotions that we have, when they're able to talk about it, that release will come out. So that begins the healing process. Then I use a script where it feels much more like a meditation. So you're very aware, you're in charge, you're completely awake. It's almost like when you're about to go to bed or you're about to wake up. So you're in that theta state. So it's like you remember, but it's kind of in and out. So that's kind of how the feeling is throughout the process. And so once we do that, we will do the healing. We'll find out if there's any energetic attachments. We'll remove those. If there's a past life, that is very important for trauma healing. We'll go into a past life. You don't have to believe in that. A lot of times it's childhood is past life. Once we do that, then I'll call in the higher self. And that's where we get to ask all the questions, find out what's going on with the body, what's going on with these attachments, if there are any, and how do we heal further with this childhood trauma.
Okay, all right. Well, sounds like a pretty cool process, and I'm sure very helpful for folks. So what do they report after they've had this treatment? What do they say about it?
Wow. So most of everybody that I do, because they have in the last 6 months it's been all attachments. So I have gotten so many weird things, like people get a little woo about it, but I'm finding, excuse me, I found squid on people. They have actually said they look like Ursula as their description. I've had dragons, I've had snakes, I've had what we would call ghosts, so actual beings that never crossed over properly attached. I've dealt with reptilians. We get into a lot of things. People do not believe in these things, and it seems kind of scary. But the way that I describe it is, would you rather have it attached or would you have it gone? So my mission is to eradicate the darkness.
Okay.
So what I have discovered, QHHT was kind of like a stepping stone to get me to this point, is to get me here so that I can help those that play their part. And I don't have any fear around the darkness. We have to have duality on this planet. But my mission is to help those who played their part very well to go back to the light, because it's time for this evolution of human.
All right. Okay. Well, that sounds really helpful for people. So I'm glad you're out there doing this kind of work. So let's talk about your motivation for helping others. When did you discover that this was something that you wanted to do, that you thought differently and thought, I think I'm going to look into this? When did that happen?
Probably back in 2019 is whenever I would consider the great awakening that I experienced. I had things just happening that didn't make sense. And then of course 2020 came. And then when we were on lockdown, all I did was look on YouTube. I got to a point where I went through a state of depression and I was very suicidal. And that was like the bottom of the bottom. I remember being on a medication prescribed by the doctor, and the side effect was depression. And it got so bad that I literally wanted just to take the rest of the bottle. And luckily, I was paralyzed. I could not move. I remember laying in the bed going, all I have to do is just take the pills. And I could not move my body. And so
was this in
ma'am?
Was this in 2019 or before?
It was in 2019.
Okay.
And I was at the heaviest of weight. I was 100 pounds heavier. I was very depressed with my life, very depressed in my job. in life. I didn't love myself. And so I just started looking for answers, started doing inner work. I didn't know that's what it was called back then. And trying to heal, trying to figure out why can't I forgive? Why can't I let go? Why do I have all of these thoughts? And that's when my journey started. And I stumbled across Dolores Cannon.
Okay.
And I was in teaching. I taught high school math for 13 years. And I knew that I was meant for something more. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I had such a great connection with my students. And I was doing counseling back then. I just didn't realize that's what it was. And I called them heart to hearts. And I would literally come in. I'm like, guys, I cannot teach today. There is a message that someone needs to hear. And I literally would just tell whatever I needed to tell. And I would have a kid that never talked to me would come up and say, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. And I just knew that I was channeling back then and didn't realize it. So I've always knew that I was meant to help people.
Nice, nice. So you've gone from the more left brain way of thinking, being a math teacher and everything, and now semi-integrating that in the classroom. And now here you are doing this wonderful process.
Yes.
So yeah. So you said you were a math teacher. Was that something that is like family oriented? Were your parents teachers or anything like that? No.
No. It's really weird. I literally went to school when my kids were in kindergarten, back to school, and my initial plan was to be a pharmacist. And it's just so funny how the world works out. But of course, that didn't happen. I went and I got my chemistry degree, and the first job I landed was a lateral entry math teacher. That was back in 2008 in an alternative setting. And I tell you, that was the best thing I ever did.
Oh, wow.
Learning how to help those needy kids who, they had no hope. And it taught me so much empathy, and it taught me to understand people and to never judge a book by its cover. So it was such a great journey to learn how to be more open and ready to help people heal.
All right. So during all of those years that you were helping people, it never occurred to you that, you would be helping in this manner that you're doing now. Oh, wow.
No, I never would imagine I'd be at this place in my life.
So in 2019, that was when things sort of shifted for you, your perceptions of things, and realizing, after your really deep depression that you had, that's when things happened that you needed to make a change, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So what assistance did you seek to become who you are today? Were you in therapy at any point, or did you have a mentor, or you said you had, different classes that you'd gone to, but was there other people and things that assisted you?
Honestly, it was just all the Dolores Cannon videos. I literally just went through all of her stuff, and I was just so intrigued. And it literally was back in 2021 that I was like, what do I do with my life? I know I'm here to do something, and I need guidance. And so asking you shall receive. So it was just QHHT in my Facebook feed. And I clicked on one of the ads. It was Julia Cannon talking about, you're not here by accident. And I felt goosebumps. And I said, wow, is this something that I could do? I didn't know I could do something like this. So I went down that rabbit hole, I wanted 3 confirmations. That was back whenever I didn't trust my guidance. I was like, are you sure, universe? Is this really what I need to do? So it took 3 things to happen. I finally got an email that says, you are meant to do this. So I started on that journey. Then I had my very first session, and I asked in one of my sessions, am I supposed to do this? And in my session, that's what came through. Yes, this is the beginning of your mission.
Yeah, wow.
So I had nobody to help. Nobody does this. I have lots of my family don't believe in what I do. I'm kind of like the black sheep right now.
Or maybe the white sheep.
Or about the white sheep. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had a QHHT session in St. Augustine with a practitioner. We had gone on vacation down there, and I had scheduled the appointments for while we were down there. And I remember asking in the session, is this something that I need to explore further? Do I need to go into this? And I got a definite no on that from
Wow.
myself. And I thought, okay, so there's something else, because I was
Yeah.
feeling that tug of like, what do I do? But I didn't know, I didn't have any idea what direction to go in. So it was kind of a neat thing to have that, confirmation there that, yeah, this is good for what you needed right now, but it's not something that you need to study. So,
Absolutely.
and I think that's interesting that just watched all these videos and stuff. So it's not like you have to have a mentor or not a personal one. So you can go on the University of YouTube.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and learn a lot. So that's a hopeful thing for a lot of folks out there that are thinking, what is my purpose? And you can just peruse the feed of your
Yeah.
YouTube and possibly get direction that way. And I think that's just great. So let's look at your worldview about things now. What kind of issues do you see when people come to you for help? I know you said, that they usually come to you with aches and pains and things, but what broader issues are people looking at when they
Well,
seek help in that direction?
yeah, a lot of people are at a place that they feel that it's like they know that they're meant for more, and they know they got this deep calling to do something, and they don't know what it is. And a lot of them have so many issues with meditating. They can't concentrate, they can't visualize. So being able to do those things are like, I know that I can meditate and ask, but I can't meditate. Or, I've tried to call on my gods and I hear nothing. And I
Mm,
think there's this huge, big misperception about we have to use all senses, and there are muscles that we have to activate. It's like, if I'm going to run a marathon, I can't just go out there right now and go run it. Like, I've got to train for it. And it's the same thing with our abilities. I'm no more special than anyone else. Anybody can do any of this work. And it's just a matter of utilizing those muscles again. But I have a lot of people who just feel that huge desire, like I'm meant to do something more with my life. So what is my mission? What is my purpose? Why am I here?
mhm,
I also have a lot of people who are going through, they're now discovering it's karmic, but these cycles are like, I keep having the same relationship. It's like I literally jump from one relationship to the next, and it's a different person, but it's the same situation. And so they're learning about these karmic cycles and how to get rid of that, how to break contracts. And what I'm learning through all this is that a lot of it's energy. I'm learning about energy is transferred from generation to generation, and the thickness of this energy gets darker and darker. So where I can have what I call a thought form, where I'm looping in a negative thought, and I create, because we can can't create energy, but we can manifest it into a thought form. That energy can get from a mist, a smoke, and then it just gets darker and darker. Well, we have a lot of sexual energy that is trapped karmically. And
mhm,
so I'm doing a lot of sexual trauma, generational energy breakage from things that this energy will be there as an attractor. So it will attract predators. And so when you look at how the sexual generational trauma is, if it's happened to you, it's probably happened to your parents and their parents and their parents. And if you trail that back, it's so thick. Same thing with addiction. A lot of times addiction is coming from the parents. There's some sort of energy that's been trapped. And by going in and being able to remove that energy, it clears the energy that won't affect the future. So then your children won't be affected. And it's such a huge thing where these people really don't understand how intense the energy can be. But having this energy release, it will actually get rid of that. And that's really one of our big main purposes of being here on this planet this time, is to eradicate all of that density.
mhm. That's amazing. So when you speak of addiction and sexual trauma and that kind of thing, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same addiction. Like you may be an alcoholic, but your parents could have been, have something with food or with drugs or workaholic or anything like that, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the sexual
And
trauma
if
could be anything
right.
in that realm. Mhm.
Right. And it'll continue. And that's where people get really upset because they'll think, it just happened to me. I'm just going to protect my child. And what I'm seeing is a lot of the ones who had the sexual trauma also had it happen with their children, and they were helicopter parents. And, the way that this works is we set up these contracts to fulfill and stop these choices from being made, because we do have free will. But when things, the veil comes down and we don't really understand how all this energy works, it still continues to happen. And at some point, it needs to be broken. And so those of us that do this spirit release, this attachment release work, that's where these things can be broken. So if you're experiencing any of that in the family, that's a key indicator that you've got energy that needs to be removed.
Mm-hmm. So when you speak of contracts, explain that concept for us.
So what I've discovered being on the spirit side, and Dolores Cannon has a lot of videos on this, and it kind of can make you mad in a sense, but when you're on the spirit side, everything is just fun and everything is just a lesson and an experience. So when you're on the spirit side, I have clients talk about being at a table and they're with other beings, spirits, and they make a choice. Who's going to be mom? Who's going to be dad? Who's going to be sibling? And when you're in the spirit form, sometimes you're like, I'm going to be mom. I'm going to be a boy. So you pick your part and you choose who's going to do what and what's going to happen. And when you come to earth, of course, we forget, the veil forgetfulness comes down. We don't remember what's going to happen and we play the part. And we have spirit guides and guardian angels that kind of throw us around to try to ensure that we meet those check marks that's on this contract. So we may come and we want to maybe eradicate sexual trauma, or we want to learn the lesson of love or learn the lesson of grief. And so however that needs to play out, we choose what we want to experience in that contract. And then our guides are there to make sure that we fulfill that. So when we do cross over, of course, we never die. Our vehicle deceases, but our spirit lives eternally. And so when we get back to the other side and we have done all the things that we accomplished, we go, man, that was awesome. Like I always wanted to die by jumping off of a tower. And, that was awesome. That was so much fun. And, as a human, we're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe they did that. But when you're on spirit side, you're just like, give it to me. This is awesome. And it's so crazy being on the spirit side when you're not attached to these 3D emotions. So it's really hard for the human mind to wrap around all the things that we label as good and bad. But when we're on the spirit side, it has nothing to do with that. It's just all lessons and experiences.
Okay. All right. So in all of this, coming to understand the spirit side and, the 3D place that we live in now and how emotion is just attached to everything. Do you feel like there's hope for mankind, to move forward and to really live a life and find their purpose in things? Do you think there's hope?
I do. I really do. I see people waking up to just questioning anything. I mean, I'm seeing it all day, every day. And it's a slow process. But, from a lot of the sessions that I'm doing, they're all saying, our guides are saying, it's perfect. Because the slower that we do it, the better we understand it and the more that we grasp of what's really going on. And we have to know that, when things have been in place for years, for centuries, and nothing has changed, nothing's fixed it, nothing's worked, at some point, we hope that humanity will wake up saying, I think it's time for a change. And whatever it is, You know, there's a lot that's out there. There's a lot of stuff that's suppressed, and you can find it. There's patents out there. There's so much information, and a lot of it, you know, you can go down some crazy rabbit holes with that. But I do feel that with the amount of people that are waking up and realizing that things are just not working the way that they are, it may be a slow change, but I do see it changing. And I have high hopes that those of us that are shining our light, that are leading the way, that it's inevitable.
Yeah. So in your opinion, you know, what do you think the future is for, you know, the holistic, natural, or spiritual modalities? Do you think you see that continuing, or, you know,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. My envision is going to be, that's going to be what we have on every corner. You know, just like you have every modality in the specialties, whether you're going for a heart doctor or a bone specialist. Here, when you get into the holistic, it's going to be, you know, maybe I need energy work, or maybe I need a tarot card reading, or maybe I need a hypnosis session. So all of these would just be, you know, sound healing has so much that can go in with all of that. So when you have a choice of, you know, I want to go experience this type of healing or this type of healing, because they are going to all have their place in the future.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So what advice do you have for those on the holistic or the spiritual path?
To stay with it, stick to it, just keep at it, even when you are alone. We were blessed to have the internet, and that is where you can find the majority of the information. It's just to go on the internet and to search, find like-minded people. If you can't find that like-minded people, literally set the intention and ask, like, please align me with people that I need for my spiritual growth. And I'm telling you, it will fall in your lap. And to just not be closed-minded. A lot of our limited beliefs, that's the biggest thing I'm seeing. I'm doing that with myself, is I catch myself in all of these limited beliefs, and it affects what comes out. So I'm very conscious about never giving like total advice. I'll say from my experience, because again, what my experience is based on my limited beliefs, and I'm working very hard on fixing that. But being able to find like-minded people to share that experience with people, and just not give up, even when you feel alone, when you feel this is super hard, because on the other side of healing is living.
All right. Well, thank you, Heather. I really appreciate you coming with us today. And, you know, how can we reach you to book an appointment or get more information from you?
Well, I have a website that you can reach me on. It's easier for you to find me on Facebook. I have a TikTok that I do videos, but you definitely can reach out to me by email, infinitecollectivehealing@gmail.com. You can also, if you go on my webpage, you can also get my phone number. You can call and text me. I do free Zoom chat. So if you want to see if this is right for you, if this is a good fit for you. But those are the easiest ways, because a lot of times people want to see it and know, and that's one of my highest recommendations. Make sure you resonate with the person you're going to have a session with, because you want to make sure that the integrity is there. So, you know, I love to work with people, but if we're not a fit, there is no hard feelings with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have all of Heather's information below the video, so check that out. And while you're here, subscribe to the channel for more interviews like this. We're going to have lots of community people come on and, you know, give us their take on things and what they do for healing people in whatever manner. And, you know, subscribe, like this video, and we'll see you next time in our next interview. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you, Heather. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.